Hey everyone, this is Amy White from Daily Successful Living. Thank you for joining us today. I'm super excited to have you here. If you like what you hear, I'd love to have you subscribe and join us for future shows. Today, I'm super duper excited. We are going to be interviewing Jackie Beck from JackieBeck.com. This is actually going to be a two-part interview. So I recommend that you listen to this one and the next one. I'm not sure exactly what order we'll put them out on, but they're going to be two really good interviews. We are going to interview her first and talk a little bit about her debt-free story, because we love talking about debt-free stories. And then also she has her own website and she developed an app to help people pay off debt. So I want to talk a little bit about the app in the sense of how to develop an app and what you need to be doing to do that type of stuff. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. So Jackie, welcome to the show. Super excited to have you here.
It's good to be here.
Thank you. Well, before we even get started, why don't you tell people who you are and kind of give them a little bit about you?
Well, you did sum it up nicely there.
I tried.
I'm Jackie Beck, and my website's JackieBeck.com. My husband and I paid off over $147,000 in debt, and so I now teach other people how they can also get out of debt, and that it is possible.
Yeah.
And I do have an app, Pay Off Debt by Jackie Beck. I had to add my name onto there because apparently it's a bad idea to just have a generic sounding app name.
Yeah.
But
Google does not like that kind of stuff.
Apparently not.
But that was a bad idea.
But anyway, so that's kind of the brief summary.
Of who you are.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's get into it then. So I want to talk first about the debt because you know me, I love debt. Well, I love getting out of debt. Probably a better way of putting it. So what kind of debt did you guys have? What was that $147,000? What made you pay it off? I know you guys kind of did it in stops and spurts, so I'd love to just kind of hear that story and kind of just walk us through how you guys did it.
Sure. We had a variety of debt, like I think
You
a
were
lot of
normal.
people do. Yeah, pretty much. We had a mortgage, I had a student loan, my husband had a car payment, and we had also had credit card debt.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the main thing. We also took out a home equity loan or a home improvement loan. I think it was. It's hard to remember. All the debt blurs together.
I know. Well, once you get it, you're like, oh crap, I'm sunk.
Right.
So it doesn't even matter what it is. Once you got it, you're like, oh boy, now I got to do something about this.
Yeah.
So and if I remember right, you had 2 unemployments too during this time too, didn't you?
Yeah, multiple series.
Okay.
So we had made progress paying off credit cards.
Mm-hmm. Did you have 17 in credit cards? Is that right?
Yeah,
Give or
around
take
there.
A little bit? Yeah.
And that was actually before my husband and I got married. So
Oh, okay.
it was we each had debt from our previous marriage.
Shocking.
And we'd gotten that paid off. And then I lost my job and I couldn't get another one for about 4 years.
Oh my gosh.
So
that would be rough.
it was
4 years.
It was a long time.
Super skilled too. You've got a lot of I've talked to you about some of your background stuff. So
Yeah.
that's a long time.
So it was kind of rough. And I tried, I did a wedding photography business, but it didn't really take off. It was the recession time. And so coming off of that, I realized, okay, I never ever want to be in this situation again. I never want to owe all this money and not have a way to pay it.
Well,
so,
I'm assuming you probably had to put your student loans in deferment.
Yeah. They were in deferment and forbearance. And
I've never been, literally, I've never been unemployed. I can't even fathom what that's like to be sitting there going, oh my gosh, I've got all this debt. I still have to pay a house payment. I've got to live. I have to have food. And obviously your husband helped too, but at the same time, that's really scary.
yeah,
So-
it was, on the one hand, it was kind of good in that was right around actually when my son was in junior high. And that's kind of an ideal time to be home if you're going to be home.
There is a lot of truth to that one.
But it is hard because
Yeah.
I had no money coming in, and I'm living on $200 a month in child support and unemployment for the first 2 years or so.
Yeah.
Then they had extended it, but it ran out, and so it wasn't fun.
Yeah.
so when I finally got a part-time job, I decided, okay, now I have all this money coming in because
Yeah.
I had I was making $10 an hour or something part-time, and I felt super rich. I'm like, okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is pay off my student loan. And
Smart. Very smart.
I just kept living on nothing and paid off my student loan. And then I was able to get, turn the job full-time, and it just sort of snowballed from there. We decided to pay off, more
You
things.
guys kept living poor though at that point.
Well, My husband and I actually kept separate finances.
Oh, okay.
But
we should talk about that. I did not realize that. Remind me. I want to talk about that at the end because that's interesting. So I want to just kind of see how that breaks down for you guys because I think a lot of our listeners have that same thing going on. So.
Yeah, but so it was. I don't know. It was like, so my husband saw me pay off my student loan and then he's like, hey, I think I'm going to pay off my car. So we kind of just kept encouraging each other. And
did you intend to get him on board or was it more of like, he just kind of saw what you were doing and was like, my wife is pretty smart.
Well, he was already interested in paying off debt. I mean, we had both worked on our credit cards. But he was pretty excited. You know, I was all excited. I couldn't stop telling everybody how excited I was to pay off my student loan.
I wonder why.
And
how much did you have in student loans?
It was about $10,000.
Okay, that's a decent amount. So yeah, especially to pay off at that salary, that's impressive.
But it was good to get it gone. I was so happy, and it just kind of continued from there. We were like, hey, let's pay this off. So we got the credit cards paid off. I got my student loan paid off. He got his car paid off. And then we felt like so many other people do, like we were debt free.
Yeah.
Even though.
Because you had everything but the house at this point.
Yeah.
You owed right around 100?
Yeah, we owed 90 something.
Okay.
Yeah. And we're like, oh yeah, we're debt free except for this $95,000 in debt.
Minor detail.
But
it felt good. So you're kind of like, I need a break.
It felt really good. And we had kind of been taking breaks all along. Also, we'd pay off one thing and then take a break, pay off another thing and take a break. And by take a break, I mean travel.
Okay, that works. Nothing wrong with traveling.
And also, my husband did have some unemployment of his own too. And there's just life, like sick pets, hospital bills, things like that.
Yeah.
But we did decide we're going to pay off the house also, and we started by paying an extra $35 a month.
35.
But actually, it makes a big difference.
That's what I was going to say. I bet you guys setting that simple goal made all the difference because you literally just said, I'm going to do one thing. And then as you do that one thing, you're like, it's kind of liberating. Well, and you can just keep moving from there.
And it's easy if you start small. And the thing is with the mortgage, if you're kind of at the beginning of the mortgage, which we were, because my husband had got on the house with me at that point, it actually, even a small amount makes a really big difference interest-wise.
That's a good point. Yeah.
So, and then we just kept adding more and more to it, and we ended up paying off the house in around 3 years.
Wow. Okay, now I want you to talk about the last year, though, because that last year was impressive to me.
Well, we just kind of went crazy.
Yeah, you did.
We had no more debt.
Like $47,000, or was it 49?
I don't even remember. It was a lot.
Yeah, it was all a lot.
It was like half the mortgage in the last year. And
how did you do that? I mean, you guys literally paid essentially $50,000 in 1 year on your mortgage.
I never really even thought of that way. But we just really focused. And of course, we had no other debt. So
which makes a difference.
We put all that money that we had spending on debt towards the mortgage. And we both got raises. I doubled my salary. And
well, you were doing some freelance work at that point too, weren't you?
I had a website too that I was bringing money from, and I had the app that I had
so
created.
You had a decent amount of money.
So I had side jobs. My husband did work on the side also. So we basically just kept pouring money at the mortgage because the closer we got, the more we wanted to get it paid off.
I can do this.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this, because this is my husband's and I planned. We owe $101,000 on our mortgage, and our goal is just get it down to like 50 to 60, or probably about 40 to 50,000, and then we're just going to literally empty out all of our bank accounts and just pay it off. Did you guys do something similar? Did you like completely spend all your emergency fund, or did you keep your emergency fund? Did you guys keep doing retirement at the same time?
We did keep our emergency funds because after 4 years of unemployment, I'm not using that for anything except an emergency.
Yeah.
But we did empty out some extra savings. I think at the end, maybe 10,000 or so between the two of us.
Oh, I totally would have done the same to get that done.
Yeah, like the last month. And then we also, we did keep doing retirement throughout. In fact, I felt like I was so behind on retirement.
Oh, yeah, 4 years. Yeah.
That I started maxing out my 401k. And so I was sending a lot to retirement.
Good for you.
And
I do have to say that's one mistake that I feel like I made, because I think we paid off $293,000 in 5 years, and we didn't completely stop doing retirement, but we drastically reduced our retirement. And looking back now, I feel like that was one of the mistakes we made. I wish that I had not reduced it that much. Yes, we may have been in debt for an extra 6 months or a year, but that compounding interest, and so I look back on it and I'm like, ugh. But I understand why people do it too. That's a tough one. And I think that's one of those individual choices. So I think it sounds like you guys did it wisely, in my opinion.
Well, I figure, you can't get that time back.
No.
So I wanted to start making progress in retirement. And it's not, a lot of people think, do I have to pay off debt or stop retirement? It's like, or
maybe try and do both.
It's not an either or choice. You can totally do both. You can invest and pay off debt.
Well, and that's where side hustles come in too. That's where you make the choice to be like, okay, so maybe I don't have quite enough money. That's when I need to get off the couch, stop watching TV. Sometimes I may do that. And
sleep less.
Yeah,
whatever.
sleep less, make some sacrifices, which kind of brings into one of the other questions I wanted to ask you. But what do you think was the biggest sacrifice you guys made during this time period to get all your debt paid off?
It's funny, people ask that a lot, and I don't really feel like we sacrificed anything.
Yay! I was so glad you said that, because I mean, yes, we sacrificed here and there, but we still chose to live life. And I think that's the key to everybody that I've talked to that's been successful is, yes, they sacrifice, but they live life at the same time.
Yeah, I don't think we sacrificed, only because first off, I had already cut out a lot of stuff from being unemployed because, I wanted to eat. And,
minor detail.
But then again, so for me, it felt more like we were adding stuff,
Yeah, that's true.
got to travel, all this other stuff. So I guess I'm coming at it from a different perspective than a lot of people are. But also, I think even if you weren't coming from unemployment, it doesn't have to be sacrifice if you look at it as this is what you want. Like, What do you want most? You want to be debt free? Then it's not a sacrifice to get the things you want.
You know what? I think you really nailed it right there. It's not a sacrifice when you're able to look at your end result. And I think that's what it comes down to. And I can't remember if I told you this story, but we paid off our debt. I mean, we literally had everything paid off except for the house. And prior to doing that, we were paying like $4,200 every month in loan payments. Now we pay $1,200. But literally the week after we paid everything off, my husband lost his job.
Wow.
Crazy timing. I mean, and we weren't even stressed. I mean, he found a job really quick in the same field, and then just kind of happenstance, one of his old contacts contacted him and said, hey, do you want to try something new? And he was able to completely switch careers and go into something that he has just absolutely loved. It got him out of the construction industry. And we would not have been able to do that if we had not paid off our debt. And so it's funny. So I look back and I think about, we sacrificed, but did we really? No, we really didn't. I mean, the benefits that came from having that debt out of our lives, they were exponential.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that I just really want to encourage people. And that's why I really want to try and interview people like you, is because I think that sometimes we get caught in this whole thing of, I can't get out of debt. I've got too much hanging over my head. But here's the deal. It just takes the first step. Wouldn't you agree with that?
Yeah, you just take the first step and keep going. I mean, you have to just stay focused on what you want, and don't think about how much debt you have.
Yeah.
Just think about how much you're paying off.
Yeah. And I think that sometimes what you have to do is just set little chunks. Be like, okay, I'm just going to pay off this. And even if it's $35 a month, I'm making that progress.
Yeah, and $35 can turn into $7,000.
Yeah, very quickly.
Yeah.
Well, and I think too, and I think you're probably like me in this too, that once I got started, it was so much easier to keep going too. I mean, don't get me wrong. We had our moments when we're like, okay, we're taking a little bit of a break. But for the most part, once you start, you get in that mindset and you just keep moving forward.
You get excited to make the payments.
I totally agree with that. So on a quick side note, I do have to ask about your car.
Okay.
So tell me about your car.
My car?
Yeah, the whole part about the duct tape. I was cracking up when I read that.
Well, so I have a car that I've had since 1991.
That's impressive.
It's a 90 Miata. I bought it. It was a year old.
What a Miata looks like.
It's a little convertible.
Okay.
2-seater.
Oh, those are fun. I know what you're talking about now.
I love it so much.
You need a picture of that on your website.
I should put one on there. I never wash it.
Same here.
Because the dirt holds it together, right?
Well, I'm just too lazy.
We're not going to mention that part. Then.
Yeah.
It's the dirt holds it together.
Yes.
That's it. No, but so at one point, I don't know, my seat got a crack in it and the top. And, it's like, I think the top was what I wrote about maybe.
Yeah.
There's
the hole.
it has a hole. And I'm like, okay, so I could spend like $1,500 to buy a new top, or I could put some duct tape over it.
Duct tape's my favorite thing.
Yeah, it's like the best. So,
it is.
And I don't really care how it looks. It just,
So how many miles does it have on it? I want to see if you can beat me.
I think we're pretty close to yours. I think it's got like 239, something like that.
Oh, yeah, so we're almost exactly the same then. I'm just about at that point, though. We've already replaced the transmission on it, and I think we're probably going to go through and purchase a new one. But I say that, and then we went to the, what am I trying to say, the dealership. And I was looking at cars, and I was like, I don't want to spend this much money. I don't. And it's funny because a lot of times people ask, okay, how have you done this? And I think a big chunk of it goes back to what you're talking about just living frugally. And a big chunk of that is not having car payments and not getting into more debt. So what have you guys done to make sure that you don't, like now that you've paid off your debt and, you've got your side hustles going, so you guys are making decent money. What have you done to keep your lifestyle from going out of control?
Sometimes I feel like it is out of control, but no, mostly we just, we have the philosophy, well, we can buy whatever we want as long as we only spend money we already have. So
I think you nailed it there.
That's it right there. It doesn't really matter.
Do you guys actively budget still, or do you do more of like the percentage-based budgeting, or how do you guys kind of manage that?
We do sort of budget. I don't really sit down and plan out the month because pretty much every month is the same.
Yeah.
So I basically have all my bills auto paid, like the electricity and insurance, stuff like that. It's all auto paid. And then I have some money automatically transferred to savings, and then some manually. I do the retirement one manually. And then mostly basically whatever's left we can spend. Doesn't.
Yeah, no, that works. That's a good way of doing it, honestly. And it's funny because once you do kind of hit that point with your money, it's funny, even though you're not necessarily budgeting as tightly as you used to, because I'm sure you're like us. We budgeted 0%. We had everything paid. Like, we were very, very careful. And now we're more, I don't want to say we're, frivolous or anything like that, but I'm not like today I'm getting ready for a camping trip this weekend, and I just went through and spent $100 without even worrying about it to buy an extra mat, a sleeping mat. It's going to be so nice. I'm so excited. But that's where I spend my money, is on little things like that. And that's what I love about having that financial freedom and that financial security is if I am going camping and I need a new piece of equipment, it's okay. I can spend $100 and not worry about it.
For sure.
Now, if this had happened 5 years ago, I would have been like, hey, and calling a friend and asking to borrow stuff. Like I couldn't spend that type of money without thinking about it.
Yeah.
So it's liberating.
It's really nice. I think that you really nailed it with like the freedom part, because I still do I feel like sometimes like I shouldn't buy things if I don't really need them, but it's more like I don't want to waste them or something. Yes. But on the other hand, like the other day I was finishing up my taxes and gotta
get my husband to sign his papers. Dang it all, I forgot this morning. Oh, I'm so glad you said that.
Normally I do the federal and TurboTax, and then I do Arizona taxes by hand because they're super easy. Super easy. Well, this year I go to do that and I'm like, I can't find any of these numbers on the federal form. They've changed everything. I can't find them. And I spent like an hour, and finally I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to pay the $44 and it'll be done in less than 5 minutes. It's like, I would never have done that, because that's a lot of money. But
it is.
But at the same time,
at that point too, because part of it is you have to look at the time value of your money.
I'm tired of looking for this number. It's worth $44 to me, apparently.
That works. That definitely works. So just kind of one final question before we move on and talk about some of the side hustle stuff. But what is the one thing that if you were looking back at yourself 10 years ago, what's one thing you would have told yourself to do? Like some piece of advice you would have given yourself? What would you tell people that were in your shoes?
Well, I think it's what I did do is to only spend money you already have and to get out of debt. That's if you're in debt, get out. If you aren't in debt, don't go in. If I could go back even further, I'd be like, to not borrow that money.
Yeah. So start simple. Really, that's what it comes down to. All right. I like it. So Jackie, thank you. I really appreciate you coming today. It's been so good to talk to you. And I hope you guys, as you listen to her story, can get a few things out of it. I think the number one thing I got out of it was, like she just barely said, is if you don't have the money, don't spend it. And it sounds so simple, but how often do we go through and we see, ooh, I need that. Oh, that outfit would look so good on me. And we just grab our credit card and we don't actually bother checking the balance. It's just so normal now to just spend money. And so I think that if we can go through and just start with that simple thing of don't spend money you don't have, it makes all the difference.